we'd like to welcome you to our conversation at Carmichael Studios. Today, we're going to talk about the ease and difficulty of doing business in the Bahamas. Today, my guest is Toby Smith, and he's going to share some of his experiences about doing business in the Bahamas and how he has had some roadblocks, some difficulties. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, download our Carmichael app. We're also on YouTube. Follow us, follow the show, chime in, rcarmichael@gmail.com, and hashtag rcarmichael. Mr. Smith.
All right, well, thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity. It's good to be at Carmichael and on our conversations. So yes, I spent 15 years in financial services here, going from being a trader, a hedge fund manager, managing director, and I've had international experience with all of our international investors and service providers and whatnot. So I've seen how things can be done around the world. I've traveled different places around the world quite extensively. So it's rather frustrating knowing how things could be done when you're actually experiencing how things are done here, which isn't necessarily conducive towards people being able to do ease of business. I started my own business about 5 years ago, so I know firsthand how it is both to do international business and also domestic business with domestic clients and domestic protocols, regulations, government, etc. And yes, it is frustrating at times, but I prefer to look at where challenges exist and where solutions can be brought on board, and hopefully be able to have a government and a regulatory body that contribute towards finding solutions towards that. So in me starting my business, I know what the frustrations exist, and on top of that, I'm trying to start an additional business, which is a pretty bright idea. I've been trying to do it for the last almost 5 years, and it's not off the ground yet. It's a dream of mine. I've fallen in love with the idea and with this particular project, and I really need the assistance of the government. It should be that private enterprise doesn't have to rely upon the government. It should be that the regulations are there to sort of make sure that the business is steered in the right direction from a legal perspective. But unfortunately, where you do need help from the government, then that assistance is lacking, even if it's just in permission or getting approvals. Yes, I've started businesses in the Bahamas. I've done both doing business, DBAs, doing business as, and having my own companies, but it's just me behind it. But now, since there's more requirements now, and with that, then the regulatory authorities have put more red tape in the way of being able to start up a business. So how would I sum it up? I'd sum it up as being really hard and really frustrating. It's a pain. But once you actually get up and going, then then there's less hassle that you have to go through. But it's frustrating. There's different components towards actually getting your business license in your hand, and that includes registration of national insurance. And then every year you've got to go back to national insurance, fill out the form, get a certificate of a letter of good standing, go back and pick it up. There's nowhere to park. There's big long lines everywhere. There's some confusion. One other frustrating thing is that why is it the line at National Insurance is so long for the cashiers? You go in there to give them money. It shouldn't be that it has to be so long in there. And yes, you could do online payments and online registration, all that kind of thing, but if the website is down, or if you call and nobody answers because you've got an issue, then these are all challenges too. But to get a business license, you need to get national insurance,
right?
You need to get Department of Environmental Health, you need to get Department of Physical Planning approval. Every year these things. You need to get, in order to do business with government, you need to have a TIN number, yes, and you need to have a certificate of good standing from the VAT department. Plus you need to do VAT registration, VAT payments every quarter. If you have a query with VAT, you send them an email and you'll maybe get a response 3-4 months later. And even if they're wrong, if they're making an accusation, and this happened to me where they've duplicated my business license, both for my corporate office and for my home office, that they think that I have 2 business licenses. So they made an assessment to say that I owe X amount of dollars towards VAT and business license, and it's fictional. But I've got to wait for them to go through their due diligence to withdraw what they're telling me that I've allegedly done, and then it takes months of preoccupation in my mind for them to come back and say, oh no, you're right, that wasn't actually supposed to be done in that way. So all of these different things, it frustrates in order to be able to do business in the Bahamas. Yes.
Wow. There's a lot to take in.
It is. And it's a lot to do. It's frustrating to do. Where your mind and your energy should be focused on being able to go out there and make a buck, an honest buck. And when you're hiring people and you're creating more towards the gross domestic product of the Bahamas, it should be like knife through butter as far as the process is concerned. It should be something that the ease of doing business should be marvelous. And so two things. One is that there are a lot of good people that work for government.
Right.
There are a lot of good people that work in these offices that are very helpful and do go out their way. And you develop a relationship with them where they recognize you. And it's not that they're looking for a handout, but they are genuinely interested in making sure that you're helped out. Unfortunately, you've got others that are there that you sit or you wait for a government office. There's 10 computers there. There's only 3 people that are working, and 2 of those are on their WhatsApp, and the next one's on YouTube. And you wait, and you got 30 people ahead of you, and they get frustrated because I'm frustrated because it's like, well, can you help me out? So there's the yin and yang. There's a balance between those that do really help.
The good employees and the bad ones.
And if I could send a message out there to people that do work in these regulatory authorities or people that are responsible for helping out for ease of doing business, it would be have pride in your work. Have some self-respect for yourself, that somebody walks in, try and be as professional as possible. Greet them, get them in and out the door as soon as you can. Not sitting there sucking your teeth talking about you ain't gonna help them and all the rest of it, but have some pride and be one of those people that stand out as be a good service provider.
I understand you have a new business venture that you're trying to get into.
Yeah.
Can you give us a brief intro as to what it is you're trying to do and the problems that you've been having over the past 5 years trying to make it happen?
Absolutely. So without getting into the actual what the project is precisely, I will say that I think that it's a really bright idea. And it's to restore a 200-year-old building. The building is owned by the people of the Bahamas. It is my business venture is to totally restore this building, create about 40 jobs for construction, about 40 jobs for ongoing operational jobs. It will be a tourist attraction, and it will be a revenue generator not only for the government but also for the employees. So under the previous administration, I basically spent 5 years in trying to get permission, which is top-level permission because it sits on Crown land.
Oh.
And Crown land can only come from the Prime Minister itself. So, or approval needs to come from the Prime Minister itself. So I basically sat for 5 years waiting and giving everything that I could possibly give as far as a drone video of what I'm trying to do, a presentation, the rendition, the architectural renditions of how it would be, cash flow information, employee information, construction schedules, all these things so that the government would have a very rounded idea of exactly what it is that I'm trying to proceed with. But I jumped through hoops and I got absolutely zero result. So while I don't like to focus on negatives, those are real facts of what I needed to go through, which is the high-level approval, before I could even go through and getting the other approvals that you need for your business license and whatnot. So it has been very frustrating, but I think that now I need to turn the new leaf with the new government and give them the opportunity to consider this proposal. And I'm hoping that the red tape that I experienced before is going to be a thing of the past, where it can be that, yes, we understand what the value is. We understand that this, and I think that the only way that a company or that a country can move forward is through its GDP growing. And a GDP is a measurement of your gross domestic product. And when you look at what your debt situation is, we have a very dire debt situation, but we don't have a gross domestic product that the gross domestic product could be growing in far greater leaps and bounds. But where it's contingent upon waiting on government approval to happen is the GDP. I don't feel is going to increase very, very quickly, but debt is. So you're going to get a bigger spread of debt to GDP ratio, and it's not going to pull the Bahamas out of a hole. So I'm not asking for anything from the government except for approval.
So basically, right now you're just waiting for you already done the business plan, you already done everything is already done.
Everything, and they told me
literally you just need the proposal. I meant the grant. For them to grant you permission
for the Crown land.
Right. So once you get the granted permission,
yes,
you'll be able to start your process of going through everything you need to get done to get the business up and running.
Right. So basically, if you're a foreign entity, then you get to go through the office of the Prime Minister. which I think that there's an inequality in that. I think that anyone that has a business proposal that could be, that has to rely upon the government, that the government, rather than roadblocking it, are welcome at. And it shouldn't be that there's an inequality of who gets that red carpet treatment. It should be that there's a qualification between who's going to invest $500 and who's going to invest $500 million, but there should be an opportunity for everybody to have a seat at the table. So if it's that somebody wants to open up a hot dog stand on the corner, then they should be able to have ease of processing going through the approval process, just as well as somebody that wants to open a $500 million resort. Well, it's the same avenue, but it's a different perspective as far as the people that you're going to be meeting with. So I've sat in the office of the Prime Minister waiting for an hour. I'm a person that if I got a 3 o'clock appointment, I'm going to be there at 10 to 3. If I got a 3 o'clock appointment, I don't want to be waiting there for an hour. It's a disrespect of my time. Just the same way that I'm going to respect your time, whoever it is that I'm going to be meeting with, I think that it needs to be reciprocated. But why is it that a Bahamian that wants to invest in the Bahamas, in Bahamians, in a Bahamian project, a Bahamian straight through, and I'm a proud Bahamian, and I've demonstrated that in the public domain, is that it shouldn't be that it's stymied or made to feel hesitant or discouraged for investing in my own country. Whereas a foreigner can come in, they get the red carpet treatment, they get a cup of tea, they can go to the office of the Prime Minister, and they get the whole treatment.
The whole shebang.
The whole shebang. But I don't think it should be like that. And in order for a Bahamian to get the approvals that they need, it's up to the Bahamian that they must go to national insurance and physical planning and all these different government departments, whereas the Office of the Prime Minister for a foreigner will facilitate reaching out to all those different government agencies.
So Toby, how fast can we get this project moving? Just briefly let us know.
Briefly, man, right now. That's as briefly as I could put it. Now. Yesterday. Yeah. I've been waiting 5 years. If government was to say, man, Toby, you got approval, even if it's an approval in principle, something in writing, then I would start with the hope that within a couple of weeks that I get actual approval. So I'm ready to start right now. My project, the plan is to invest approximately $2 million into restoring a government-owned building, which is it's our building. Why are they going to stop me from investing in the Bahamian people's building? So it's to totally restore a building. It's to put in a new building also, so it's got modern facilities with bathrooms, restaurant, bar, etc. I'm not asking the government to give me anything. I'm giving the government something. They'll have a fully restored 200-year-old building. And give back to the Bahamian people, yeah. But it will end up that the Bahamian people will have a fully restored 200-year-old building that's going to cost the government absolutely zip. I'm not asking for any kind of money. This is all going to be privately financed, and a lot of the money is going to be coming out of my own pocket. It's asking for Crown land, which is still going to be owned by the Bahamian people. They're not going to be giving me anything. It's let me use it. And right now, it's being used for nothing. And the building is derelict, and it's falling apart, and it's an eyesore to more than 4 million tourists that come in on the cruise ships every year, and anyone else that goes in that area. But it's going to enhance the downtown product. It's going to be part of it's 200 years old. It was built in 1817, and it's a historical part of Nassau. It's going to be a fantastic place. Unfortunately, I don't want to let the cat out of the bag as far as exactly what it is, but I'm looking at forming a private-public partnership with the government. So the government would be making money from my top end, from the revenues that I generate, and it'll be audited. They'll have the VAT returns, the business license returns. All this will be above board, but it will be a revenue generator for them. It's going to employ 40 people during the construction phase, 40 people that are operational jobs that are all Bahamian jobs. That'll be tour guides and managers and restaurant staff and bar staff, and I want all these people to feel a part of this business. It's going to be giving back to the community, but it's also going to be generating money for the government. It's going to cost the government absolutely nothing, but they're going to have this restored 200-year-old building. It's going to provide Bahamians with access to something that I truly believe that when they experience it, they're going to say, wow, man, this is how it's supposed to be. And when you go to Paris, or when you go to Milan, or you go to any other city in the world, not any other city, but when you can go to many first world countries in the world, or even third world, you look at like Cuba or Haiti or any of these, they've preserved these buildings. They've looked after them. They encourage people to go there. And they can do it even if they're just selling tea. They can do it on a sustainable basis, that they're raising funds that's going to keep it and be self-sufficient. So all I'm asking for from the government is for an approval. And once I get that approval, I will hit the ground running today in doing what I need to do, and it's all included in the business plan.
That's great. Well, we're here. This is our conversation, Arca Michael Studios. I'd like to thank my guest, Toby Smith, for his great contribution today. Any final words before we close today?
A very big thank you, Jason. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here and to run out Henfield and doing this marvelous job with Arca Michael and the Arca Michael community itself. I appreciate it. Anything I could do to help is wonderful, and I think the exposure that you're getting out there for the Bahamian people is most respectable.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.